Thank you. So please come in. We are starting in a few seconds, talking about history of blockchain, times when we didn't even know the terminology of blockchain and what was before it, how we got there. It's a fun story. I think it's really interesting to see how we got to this technological improvement, how we can see the world being more decentralized. In short, who am I about me? So those who do not know me, I'm a Polkadot head ambassador for Eastern European region. So I'm the person you should be looking for if you apply as an ambassador candidate, and I'm helping you to get started with Polkadot and contributing in the Polkadot ecosystem. I also founded CCTF. It's a decentralized CTF game. The idea is that hackers and coders come together to solve challenges, and they submit their solutions on-chain, and they get points for it, and hopefully win the prizes. And this so far is running on Solidity, but we are working on transiting it to Substrate. So I'm also working in some Substrate projects. And I was most of the time a technical person. The last couple of years, I realized it could be a good idea to see the world from the other side, being not just technical, but also from the view of like real life, not just being behind my laptop. So I just looked out of the box a little bit. So Web3 really likes blockchain. I want to start with the fact that the terminology Web3 exists for quite a long time, at least 2008, when Mozilla started to speak about it. Mozilla was one of the first, even though their definition was very different. So this is not a new term, it just started to become a hype in the recent years, especially because the technology is there, and we have more stability, and we can have approximately 100% uptime, even though not many blockchains have it so far. It's a big improvement compared to what we had in Web 2, where the backends can crash. There might be many issues in the centralized systems. If we look at Bitcoin, we can say that it didn't stop since it started, only stopped once, but it was because nobody was mining. So it was inactive. It was somewhere around 2009 when it began. But otherwise, some blockchains like Bitcoin never really stopped. And the removal of single point of failures and the removal of censorship and many other features like unstoppable applications, we are trying to get there with Polkadot. It is the vision of Kevin and the founders of Polkadot to create something that runs without human interaction and cannot be stopped, and still the system works on. So in Web3, when we talk about it, it's mostly about blockchain technology. I assume you know what Web3 is, what it means, and what blockchain is. Who doesn't know what it is? It's an evil question because who would raise the hand, right? So we can just move on. I had another talk in the UTX. I was explaining these terminologies in detail and the history of them. So let's get into a more interesting story and go back a little bit to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin started in 2009, and the terminology blockchain was not existing. Maybe it was coined around 2012, 13. That's when I started, and that's when I first heard about a decentralized peer-to-peer system that allows the transition of value from A to B wherever you are in the world. So basically that's the definition of it. It was really cool back then. It is still really nice. I really like Bitcoin. It's a great system, but it has its own limitations, and technology is developing, and Bitcoin is clearly not enough in its sense. So that's when Ethereum came in 2016, when Vitaly, Gavin, and a few others came together saying we need something more. So let's add something like a smart contract, even though it's very interesting because the original smart contract idea from '96 from Nick Szabo, it was not explaining what Ethereum implemented, it was explaining a system where you have like oracles inbuilt. And he didn't call it oracles, but that was like a basic functionality that you know about the external world. So the smart contracts in Ethereum is basically an implementation of the original idea in a very limited way. But it helped us to get started with Solidity and EVM. And EVM was mostly coded by Gavin Wood. And there we go, Polkadot. So seeing the limitations of Ethereum and the problem that Ethereum itself can only talk with the Ethereum blockchain, and there is no external information coming in, and the blockchain cannot talk with other blockchains, was the idea of interoperability. So that's why Polkadot was created, to create communication between blockchains. You can imagine it like banks. Before there was SWIFT and the protocols and the standards defined for banking, so you can transfer your fiat money all over the world, and the banks can negotiate it some ways. I think that's where we are with blockchain now. That we are working on figuring out how we transfer the assets, NFTs, the tokens, the coins, whatsoever we have between the blockchains. This is a must, otherwise we will have like standalone blockchains all over the world. They won't be communicating, and it is, in my opinion, is just following the same pattern that happened with banks. But now we have the ability and the chance to be more decentralized, and we can now participate in this story. We can join the Polkadot governance, for example. We can become Polkadot ambassadors. We can, if you have DOT in OpenGov, you can already vote. When the bank system was built, it was not like this. But now we have more power in our hands. And this is how Bitcoin also started. Bitcoin gave us the power to transfer money and own the money with the wallets and the private public key setup. I think that's a super cool thing. So Polkadot's goal is to help to connect blockchains, and in a simple way. And I really like to talk about Polkadot in simple ways. Most of the presentations are, oh, here is Polkadot and then Kusama, and by the way, there is XCMP and all these things, and nobody understands that. So I made it super simple. That's what Polkadot does. It relays the messages between blockchains, and that's what the utility of DOT is. So when you own DOT and when you use DOT, this is a utility token, maybe the utilitiest utility token of all, because there is real action happening behind. It's not just a hype, not just an idea of some imaginary metaverse that might be developed in the future in some years or something. This is thing that actually exists and works and connects together blockchains, which we call them the ecosystem teams or the parachains. So Polkadot helps this happen, and also to fuel the Polkadot on-chain governance. So looking back at the whole story, a little bit more historically and a little bit more extension. So I think the whole story started in the 90s or in the 1942 when the first computers were developed. And we started to see some some new phenomenon coming and our life changing from the old ways and becoming digital. It's a slow process, so don't expect to happen drastically, but I think it's becoming faster and faster. And what I haven't talked about so far is substrate, because I left this part out. I don't want to talk too much about the tech side, but substrate is the technology behind Polkadot, and not just Polkadot, but all the blockchains that are running in the Polkadot ecosystem. And this is a modular framework. Please raise your hand if you are a developer. Oh, nice. Okay. There are more developers than I expected. Cool. Raise your hands if you developed in Substrate already. Oh, nice. Cool. Okay. So for those who haven't done Substrate development so far, that's the thing that is fueling the system. It is a framework. It is a modular framework. And if you want to start your new blockchain project, you do not need to start from scratch. You do not need to fork an existing project which has no documentation and you do not know what to expect. We have Substrate, we have modules for governance, we have modules for DeFi, NFTs, so we have many systems implemented already, which you can just grab and use already. So it's a super powerful system. And when I look at the landscape of crypto now, and I consult many companies and projects and startups, and they ask me, okay, what is the best choice? What should we do for our projects? It's not always Substrate. It's a blockchain, so don't expect that you do everything on Substrate. You do use Substrate when you need performance and layer 0 connection to the system. But all the big serious projects in the end choose Substrate and not a fork of Ethereum or a fork of, I don't know, Cosmos or whatever, because Substrate is the most straightforward system and the system which you can plan with. It's really hard to plan a system, and especially from business point, when you have no clue and developers are saying, oh yeah, we fork something and we maybe develop it in half a year. With Substrate, you can already estimate the amount of time and effort needed. And we didn't even speak about the protocols and the existing systems. So in many cases, for example, in government use, we can use the governance palettes with some fine-tunings and modifications. So I think it's super cool, because if you develop something on that and you go through the parachain auction, you can directly connect to Polkadot. So you don't just build your own stuff out of nowhere, but you have the system which lets you connect to the ecosystem, and you have the cross-chain communication. So looking at the whole story from a little bit more tech side, I used this slide in similar ways in the past, because I really like to show that what we call a blockchain, or how we got to Polkadot or Bitcoin in 2009, it's not just a new thing that popped out of nowhere. So the core of most of the chains, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, basically we are talking about the Merkle tree. So if you have this tree-like structure, basically that's the Merkle tree. It's not a new concept. It's from the end of the 70s. So the idea already existed. And we just came to a point where some developers and some very smart people said, okay, we already have some really cool things, and mostly cryptography, and that's why the term cryptocurrency, said that, okay, let's combine these technologies together, and let's add the smart contract idea from Nixabo, and let's use a proof of work for Bitcoin. Let's put it together. So now we have a decentralized peer-to-peer system, letting you to transfer values. Now ZKPay is hype, maybe it's the end of the hype, I don't know, but many people are talking about ZKPay. But ZKPay is also not a fully new concept popping out of nowhere. It was also, I think it was the concept that was created. I'm not sure when the first Git commit or the first commits were done, but the first papers are from 85. So as you can see, there is always some technological advancement, not creating a whole system, but small parts of it. And interoperability, hopefully, the choice on the long run will be XCMP, which is coming from the Polkadot ecosystem, and Gavin is pushing a lot for XCMP and to make it happen. It already works. So this is something I think everyone should look for. The system that works, the system you can use, the system that delivers something that you can use in practice. We also have Cosmos with IBC and all the hacked bridges. So bridges will just probably falling out from the game because everyone knows that these Web2 bridges are super insecure. If you are interested in the tech details, I have a few presentations on hacking bridges. It's a lot of fun. They are most of the time totally screwed. There are many new types of vulnerabilities in the bridges, and we just, you know, we just don't spend too much time on their security. Only few people are researching it, and most of those people who are researching it are emptying it and never appear again. So I have good hopes in XCMP because of technological advancement in it. And yeah, NFTs, it's there, it stays, and it is changing. I think dynamic NFTs is something that we can utilize in the future. And when it comes to NFTs, I'm new to the Gear project. I was just talking to the guys. I really liked what they do. It was not originally part of the presentation. I'm just adding it there because the idea of what Gear has is also kind of, I'm not saying revolutionary, but also something that makes a big improvement in the performance and how we communicate with decentralized applications. And we can, with Gear, we can do like real-time applications, so real-time games or real-time whatever systems, because now we need to always wait until the block is confirmed, or in case of Polkadot is the chain, which is confirmed, and it takes time, and you are waiting, and the game or whatever you are using is not working. Maybe with Gear. So look out for those and be part of the history. I choose these two wallets because, well, I am independent, so I'm not part of any foundation or whatsoever, so I can say whatever I like. I like these two projects because it's very usable for me. I also use them for NFTs and recommend for newbies. I think it's very important to give people some tools that they can just install on their phone. Just like when it was in 2013 in Bitcoin, we came together, oh, what is this? How do I use it? Bring your laptop, we installed the Bitcoin wallet. We could still use the Bitcoin software on the laptop and synchronize the network. And then we were teaching each other, and that's super cool in meetups. That's what I like in meetups, that we come together and do something. That's how meetups should be. And I recommend those wallets because they are user-friendly. So if you are new to the system, then choose one, Nova wallet or sub-wallet. Pick the one which you like the logo more and just use it. I recommend them because it works on your phone, so you can right now try this. There are other wallets in the ecosystem. There is Talisman, for example, which is also super cool, but as far as I know, they don't have the mobile app. Those guys have it, so that's the reason I recommend them. And if you want to go like more advanced and tech, Polkadot.js, but that's for me is more for developers. We have many ways to do this, but that's not the point. The point is that you take action and you use the system and you participate, and that's the most important of all. And when it comes to participation, I'm also calling everyone who is interested to join the ambassador program, because this gives you the opportunity to connect with the ecosystem on a totally different level. So in the Polkadot Ambassador program, it is up to you what you contribute. We have different tracks. So we let you contribute with the design, with community moderation. You can help with finding scammers in the ecosystem and report them. You can organize events and many, many other things. And this is why I really like Polkadot and why I chose Polkadot to spend more time in it, because we are not just focusing on technology. We have an ambassador program, which is not, even though it's not fully running on blockchain, but we are now working on using the collective chain to start the ambassador collective. So we are trying to move the ambassador program also on chain. And you can work with a really cool system and a really cool community. It is not a paid job. No one is getting paid for being an ambassador, but the network and the opportunities you get in the ecosystem, I think it really worth it. And it's up to you if you want to participate. So feel free to apply if you are interested, and hope you will like it. So thank you very much. This was the presentation. I hope everything was understandable, and I hope this was maybe a presentation which helped Polkadot to be more understandable for everyone, because that was my original intention, to make Polkadot understandable. So thank you very much. And if you have questions, then feel free to ask. I think we still have time, even though I was not looking at the time.
Hello,
Hi.
Six. Thank you. And it's a question more for people that try to understand about Polkadot. Is it necessary to be part of the ambassador program to participate at Polkadot events or contributions?
No, it's not necessary. It's more like an extension if you want to get involved more in the ecosystem. But all the tools and all the ecosystem is basically accessible for everyone. So you can even organize Polkadot decoded viewing party without being an ambassador. So if you are not an ambassador, you can still use the system and participate. It's not a must. It is, I think it is for people who wants to be more deeply involved in organizing Polkadot and make Polkadot grow.
Thank you, Six.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Then thank you very much.